Hi, we're going to present to you the Team Positive Presence end of semester data report. So this report will sum up all of the data that we have collected, branching from week 1 all the way through week 15 and finals week. So an introduction to data. So data meets every week for 1 to 2 hours, depending, and we do a variety of things. We make weekly reports, we make mid-semester reports, we make end-of-semester reports, we make tables, we make charts, we have raw data collection, we do analysis, we do actual math. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's a lot more complex, and it takes a lot more time than a lot of people consider. But it's a really good way to see the numerical value and impact that we are having, because we can say we're impacting so many people and we're making a good impact, but then you see the number and you're like, wow, that's a lot more people than we thought we were actually impacting.
So how exactly do we translate kindness into numbers, one might ask? Very simple. We have a lot of raw data in which we put every single thing that happens from all of the shifts into one big Excel sheet. And then we have in-person outreach information, and then we have more in the office situations such as assembly and messaging. And those take up two separate sorts of analyzing, just because we do different things and they directly impact each other. So we're going to talk about it separately. And lastly, we also have a set of conclusions as well as analyses and recommendations from what we've gathered over the last 15 weeks of our time, which Mac will be talking about later.
Alrighty, so moving a little into what our raw data looks like. So this is the chart from week 1 to week 8. As you can see, it's divided by type of shift and type of data that we have. So we have interactions, items given, and items made. And then each week we input the numbers that each of our shift collects. And then, so this is the first part of the chart, and this is the second part. This is from week 9 to week 15. Then we have the totals per shift, per type of data. And all of that raw data is analyzed and manipulated by us so we can get an actual view of our results. And then we compare that data also by week, so we can see our increase per week, and we can also compare that data to past semesters and see how TPP and Walk This Way kind of evolves around the years and becomes a more put together program.
To start us off, we're going to be talking about in-person outreach results. I'm going to scooch over here. This is a grand total of 15 weeks put into spikes and numbers. As you can see, there's a huge spike in week 14, which is when we started officially all of our outreach shifts, including 19 tabling shifts, 34 golf carting shifts, which is pretty awesome, and 7 outreach shifts. Those ones are a little lower in number just because, sometimes due to the cold and because we partner with the Amherst PD and also the town ambassadors, sometimes things may come up and we may not be able to formulate the agenda that we need. And as you can see, it dwindles down a little bit over to the end of the semester just because it gets a little colder and shifts may be canceled or things come up and we do events instead. And looking down at the very total, you'll see that we've had a whopping 35,022 interactions over the last 15 weeks, which is really amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We did that with a total of 3,124 items distributed by tabling, 13,215 items distributed by golf carting, and 797 items distributed by outreach, most of which was in the Southwest area when we did a lot of COVID testing kit handouts. Moving on a little bit more to a discussion on how we reached those results. If you look at the very, very top, the first number is 17,833.5 interactions. And this was in the year before that, before everybody came to be in fall 2021 to spring-ish, yes. And you'll see that our interactions have doubled from what I told you in the slide before, which is really, really awesome. This is mostly because the team expanded, but also we've done a lot more in-person things, and also because everybody is back on campus, which is amazing. We also have a little bit of an explanation on what we do for tabling and golf carting, which is mostly distributing chops on campus. We zoom around and do all those things, as everybody knows. And as for outreach, I've mentioned before that we've done something with Southwest before, but for most of the times in outreach shifts, we visit off-campus students and neighborhoods with the Amherst PD as well as the town ambassadors. Most of the time, usually with doggies, which is a lot of fun. And we go around letting people know about events happening in town, as well as Good Neighbor registration, which is something that the Off-Campus Student Center does. And this is a grand total of what everything looks like in a bar graph accumulated. You'll see that the green is golf carting, which is basically, along with Walk This Way, most of our interactions, which is not very surprising since we do more walking. The red is tabling and outreach is yellow. And we have less interactions for outreach just because it's a lot more person-based and quality-based interactions in that we go to houses and then we knock on them separately. So that takes up a lot more time, and we can't possibly reach 300 students in the span of 2 hours like that. That's it.
Alrighty. Moving to like the behind of scenes kind of data that we have. So assembly and messaging is basically what we do at the office, is what we do to prepare for our outreach and tabling and golf carting shifts. So as a total, assembly assembled 15,295 items throughout the whole semester, and messaging did 85 different messaging chops. Each of them handmade, colored, drawn, and created from start to finish by our staff, which is amazing. We can see some examples of the type of chops that we have. So we have compliment cards, we have chops with more resources based, we have chops that promote our events or promote UMass events. We also have information about safety gatherings or safety regarding to COVID. But overall, our program is just sending a message out there of positivity and information. A little more in depth of what messaging does. It's about 2 to 4 shifts per week with 3 to 4 staff, and then you just design informational campus and resources, and also compliment cards, stuff just to brighten people's days. And then assembly does the same, basically 3 to 4 shifts per week to prepare for the whole grand amount of items that we give out. A different type of chops might be made. So for example, we have chops with candy, or we have goodie bags, we have COVID testing kits. And this semester we are expanding to other types of chops. So for example, we did last semester a lot of origami and stuff like that, that just gets a little more effort to do, but at the end of the day, it's more appreciated by the students. And that's basically what assembly and messaging do.
So moving on to our conclusions, if you look at this graph from week 0 through week 15, you can see a pretty consistent decrease from week 4 through 15. And in our meetings, we discussed heavily why this happened. And we essentially came to the conclusion that when it got colder, our shifts would get canceled. And then also midterms started. And once midterms start, they never really stop. And so if we can't get coverage for shifts, then we don't have enough people to run the shifts, and the shifts get canceled. Or we don't have as many people to be walking around and talking to people, so we don't get as many interactions. Because of this, the data team highly, highly recommends that we implement alternates per shift. We do not host shifts before 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of class scheduling. And all shifts all shifts are like agreed upon at the beginning of the semester and don't really change unless it's snowing or pouring. Not necessarily like, it's so cold, we're gonna change a golf carting shift to an assembly shift. It's so cold, instead of going golf carting, we're gonna walk around inside buildings to still get interactions for that shift. So this is the same graph, but a little bit different. And this is our location tracking. So location tracking is the hardest tracking to do, but it is the most important tracking. So if you can see on this graph or this image, we have campus split up into 12 different locations, and each location is color coded based on the number of interactions that we got. So as we can see, Southwest had almost 7,000 interactions, whereas the Mullen Center had 0. So the Mullen Center is seen in white, and Southwest is seen in the darkest blue that we have here. This helps the data team locate which areas do the best, and then we have to say, okay, why did they do the best? What shifts did we have in Southwest? How often did we have shifts in Southwest? What time were those shifts? So, for example, there was a Wednesday golf carting shift that went from 5 to 8 p.m. every single week, and every week they went to Southwest during dinner time, so they got the most interactions there. But if they had gone to Worcester every week, it would have been more interactions in Worcester than in Southwest. So something that the data team really is pushing for and really wants for this semester is that for each shift not to go to the same locations each week. So if there's a golf carting shift on a Monday evening, it will go to Southwest one day, and then it'll go to Worcester the next, and then the next maybe it'll go to the computer sciences building where we don't go very often, which is this very, very pale blue up there. Just so we can get numbers and input from different locations at different times for different shifts, so we can get a better overall rounded conclusion as to where we should be going. We also really want to be able to create these graphs. So this table is created from all of the data from tabling, golf carting, outreach, everything is incorporated into this image. We want to be able to do this for specific shifts. So if there's a specifically golf carting, because tabling kind of stays in the same place, but golf carting moves around. So if we have a Monday night golf carting versus a Friday morning golf carting, we can see that Friday morning and Monday evening aren't going to have the same interactions because people have different classes at different times, and one is not at dinner time. So maybe the Friday morning doesn't need to go to Southwest in the evening, but Monday evening does. And so it will help the data team for future semesters recommend better timing of shifts, better places for shifts, and better quality of shift. Thanks for watching.